learners. Welcome to my video lecture. In the last video, we have discussed about the principles of network applications. In this video, we will be discussing about the next topic, that is web and HTTP protocol. Before actually going into the concept, first of all, we have to discuss about the application layer protocols, because all these HTTP protocol, FTP protocol or SMTP protocol comes under application layer. All these are called as application layer protocols. So what exactly the application layer protocol defines? So it defines the type of the message exchanged between the processes which are running in the system, the syntax of those messages, the semantics of each fields, the meaning of each fields, the rules for determining when and how the process sends the message and responds to the messages. So these things will be defined by the each application layer protocol for different purpose. So now we will look into the protocols. So in this video, we will be discussing about the HTTP protocol, that is Hypertext Transfer Protocol. So because of this protocol, the first web application is developed by Berners-Lee in the year 1994. So that is the first internet application, which is called as WWW or World Wide Web, or in short we call it as web. So web operates on demand. That means the users can receive what they want when they want it. So for example, anytime you can search anything on Google. So this is the best example for a web application or a web search. So you can access the Google server from anywhere, anytime, and you can search anything you want. So that is the main advantage of web application or web. Whenever we access web, normally we access some pages from the server. So what is the web page? Whenever we look into the web pages, it consists of objects. So these objects are nothing but the content of a web page. Normally a web page can contain a basic HTML file, some JPG images, that is images, or it may contains Java applets, or it may also consist of audio file or video file. So in short, we call it as objects. So this is the one terminology normally we use the content of a web page. For example, if you consider a page which may contain one HTML file, that is base HTML file, and 6 images, then totally it will have 7 objects. So web page consists of base HTML file which includes several referenced objects. So here 6 images may be some referenced object. So totally we can have 7 objects. Each object is addressable by a URL. So URL is nothing but universal resource locator. It is nothing but the address whatever we give on the address bar in the web browser. So for example, this is an example for a URL. It is nothing but the address of each object in the server. So what is the meaning of this entire URL? So this has two parts. One is called as host name and the path name. The host name identifies the server and the path name identifies the file in that server. So this web operates on HTTP protocol, the main protocol which we use for web applications. So HTTP is nothing but it's a web application layer protocol, hypertext transfer protocol. In short, we call it as HTTP. This works upon client server model. So in the previous video, we have already discussed what is client server model. So in HTTP protocol, again there will be two processes will be running. One is client process and another is server process. Client process will be running on the web browser and server process will be running on web server. So now how the messages will be exchanged between this client and server, and how this message will be sent and what is the content of the message, all will be defined by this HTTP protocol. So now we will see how exactly the client will request for the server for some web page by using HTTP. So whenever a client wants to request a web page from the server, first it will send a HTTP request. So HTTP request message will be sent from client to server. For that request, the server will respond with a HTTP response. Again, so we can access the server content from any device. Whichever device runs web browser, it becomes client, and whichever device runs web server, it becomes the server. For example, if this iPhone is running a Safari browser, then if at all it requests something from this server, first it has to send the request, then it has to send the response from the server. So this is what exactly happens whenever we type something on the web browser. For example, if you type www.google.com, then this will be sent as a HTTP request. That means you are requesting a page from the Google server. For that page, the Google server will respond with a HTTP response. Once you receive, or once your browser receives the HTTP response, you will get the Google homepage. So this HTTP protocol works in the application layer. Now, which protocol will be used by HTTP in the lower layers? So HTTP uses TCP protocol. So we have already seen TCP is a connection oriented. That means there will be a handshaking procedure before we exchange the messages between the process. So first of all, the client initiates the TCP connection by creating a socket. So normally HTTP uses port number 80. So this is nothing but port address, which comes under well-known port numbers. So HTTP uses port number 80. So once the client creates the TCP connection with the server, server accepts that TCP connection from the client. So always client will initiate the connection and server will wait for the connection from the client. So once there is a connection between client and server, then HTTP message will be exchanged between the client and server. So HTTP messages exchange between the browser and the web server. So where browser is the client and web server is the server. So once the data is exchanged or data transmission is completed, then TCP connection is closed. one important thing is HTTP is a stateless protocol. That means the server will not store any information about the client request. That means, for example, initially whenever you type or whenever you search a car in the Google search, and you will get the response from the Google server, and then you will close it. Again, if you type car, again you will get the result. So that is why the server will not prevent you asking the same request multiple times, because server does not store any information about the previous request made by the client. So that is why HTTP is called as stateless protocol. So now we will see how exactly a HTTP request is sent from client to server, and how HTTP response will be sent from server to client back. So first of all, we will be creating a TCP connection between the transport layer of the client and the transport layer of the server. So there will be a logical connection or peer-to-peer connection between the transport layer of the sender and transport layer of the receiver. So once TCP is created, then we will be creating a socket at the client side and the server side by using a port number 80. So once we create the socket, next the application layer sends the HTTP request from application layer to socket. So we have already discussed that socket acts as a interface between application layer and the transport layer. So now the HTTP request has been sent to socket. So once the HTTP request is sent to socket, now it's the job of socket to transfer the same HTTP request to the transport layer. So now the same HTTP request will be sent to transport layer. So once transport layer receives the HTTP request, now application layer does not have any control over that HTTP request. So it is the job of transport layer to transfer the same HTTP request from sender transport layer to receiver transport layer. So we will see how exactly the HTTP request will be sent from transport layer to network layer and till it received by the transport layer of the receiver. So now the HTTP request is received by the transport layer of the server, and same will be sent to socket, and it will be received by the application layer of the web server. So now request has been received by the server. It will process this request and it will identify whether the requested page is available in the server. If everything is okay, then the server application layer will send a HTTP response for the same HTTP request made by the client. So HTTP response will be sent from server to client in the same way how exactly the HTTP request sent from client to server. So this is what happens whenever we make or whenever we type something on the web browser. Okay, so we have seen the normal operation of HTTP protocol. Whenever we consider the connections, we have two different types of connection in HTTP protocol. The first one is non-persistent HTTP and persistent HTTP. In non-persistent HTTP, we will be sending only one object over a single TCP connection. Once we exchange the object between the client and server, then the TCP connection which is established will be closed. and downloading multiple objects requires multiple connection. For example, if you are requesting 6 objects from the server, then you need to have 6 TCP connections, multiple connections. So then only you can download 6 different objects. So this is what the non-persistent HTTP. That means the TCP connection will not persist after we exchange an object. So that is why it is called as non-persistent. The second one is called as persistent HTTP. Here we can exchange multiple objects over a single TCP connection between client and server. Unlike non-persistent, the TCP connection persists after we exchange an object. So that is why we can able to exchange multiple objects, multiple images over a single TCP connection. So now we will study how exactly the HTTP works with the non-persistent connection and persistent connection. So suppose we consider the user enters the URL called as www.someschool.edu. So edu is a domain name and some path name. He gives this as a URL. So here this much is the host name and this is the path. So he is requesting some file in this path from this host. So how exactly this request will be sent, and for that response will be received with non-persistent connection. So if you consider, there are one basic HTML page and 10 images in this case, then we will see how exactly it exchange between the client and server, or browser and the server. So first, HTTP client initiates the TCP connection to HTTP server over port number 80 with this URL. So this is the first step. Next, HTTP server at host with this address will be waiting for TCP connection at port number 80. Then it accepts the connection and notifies the client. So now there is a TCP connection between the client and this server over a port number 80. So once there is a TCP connection, then HTTP client sends the HTTP request message containing the URL into the TCP connection socket. Message indicates that client wants the object with this path name. So next, HTTP server receives the request message. So here HTTP request message will be sent from client to server. Once HTTP server receives the request message, it forms the response message for that request containing the requested object by the client, and it sends message into its socket. Okay. So now the response message is there in the socket of the server. So that will be sent to the client side. Once the client side receives the response, it closes the TCP connection. The server will closes the TCP connection once the response message is sent. So now HTTP client receives the response message containing the HTML file, displays HTML page. So passing HTML file finds 10 reference JPG objects. So now this is for only one object. So now we have to access 10 more objects. So totally there were 11 objects. So we have received one object. So still there are 10 more objects. So now from step 1 to 5 need to be repeated for each 10 JPEG objects. So that is why in non-persistent only one object will be shared in one TCP connection. So this is how a HTTP request and response will be transferred in the non-persistent HTTP connection. So now we have to study the efficiency of this non-persistent HTTP. So to study the efficiency, we can take one parameter that is called as response time. How do we calculate the response time with non-persistent HTTP? The one parameter we use for this is RTT. In short, we call it as round trip time. Okay. So here we will see how exactly we calculate a round trip time. So first, whenever client wants to make a request to server, it has to initiate the TCP connection. So from here the time starts. Next, the TCP connection request will be received by the server. For this request, response will be sent from server to client. So now the TCP connection has set up between client and server. So this time shows the propagation delay. The slope whatever we can see, it shows the propagation delay. So once we send some request and once we receive the response, so this entire time whatever we have, it is called as 1 RTT or 1 round trip time. So with this, how we can define a round trip time? So round trip time is nothing but total time required to transfer the request and to receive the response back at the client side. So time for a small packet to travel from client to server and back is called a round trip time. So now just we have created a TCP connection. So still HTTP request and response message yet to be exchanged between client and server. So once the TCP connection is established, next we are requesting a file by placing a HTTP request that will be sent from client to server. For this HTTP request, the response message will be created or it will be formed by the server and it will be sent from server to client. So again we need to consider one more RTT for sending a request and getting the response. So that is why we are considering one more RTT. So this width indicates the time to transmit the file. So if the file is larger, then file transmission time will be more. So file is received by the client. So now how do we calculate RTT, total RTT? So non-persistent HTTP response time is 2 RTT, 1 RTT for initiating the or creating the TCP connection and another RTT for sending a request file and to receive the response file plus the file transmission time. So this is how we calculate the response time for non-persistent HTTP. So this much is for only one object. So we have total 11 objects. So this is for one object. We have 10 more objects. So now total time taken for or response time taken for entire object is this plus the response time taken for 10 more objects. Why? Because for each object we have to recreate the TCP connection. So whenever we look into the non-persistent HTTP, it has some shortcomings or it has some disadvantage. It requires 2 RTT per object. So as we have seen, so one RTT for TCP connection and another RTP is for actual request and response. OS overhead for each TCP connection. Why? Because it is the job of operating system to create the TCP connection between the sender and receiver. So that is why whenever we create a multiple connection, it will be a overhead for operating system. And browsers often open parallel TCP connection to fetch referenced objects. Okay, so this will reduce the efficiency in the network. So that is why to overcome this, we have persistent method. So instead of having multiple TCP connection, we can exchange subsequent objects with the same TCP connection without closing it. So server leaves connection open after sending a response. So in the non-persistent method, the connection will be closed by the server once the response is sent. But in persistent method, the connection will be left open after sending the response. The same TCP connection will be utilized for the further objects. So subsequent HTTP messages between the client and server can be exchanged between the same connection. So client sends a request as soon as it encounters a referenced object. So client can send multiple requests for the server and the server can respond for those multiple requests over a single TCP connection. And here as little as 1 RTT for all the referenced object. Why? Because there is no need for multiple RTT for multiple connection. We have only one TCP connection, that is why it is 1 RTT is enough for the entire objects. So that is the main advantage of persistent connection over non-persistent connection. So we have been talking about HTTP messages. So how exactly these messages look like? So we have 2 types of HTTP messages. One is HTTP request message, which is sent from client to server, and second one is HTTP response message, which is sent from server to client, and it is in human readable format, that is ASCII. So by using normal text. So we'll see each of them how it exactly it look like and what is the format of those messages. So first one is HTTP request message. So this is the general format of HTTP request and this is an example. So we'll look into the general format, then we'll look into the example. In the HTTP request message, we have different part. The first line is called as request line and which has multiple fields. So method field, URL field and version field. Between each field we have some space. And after each line we have a carriage return and line feed. So that is why it comes to the next line. The next set is called as header lines. The first one is request line, next is header line. Again it will be having some number of lines, variable number of lines. Sometimes it may have 1 line or sometimes it may have 10 or sometimes it may have more than that. So depending upon the request whatever we make. So even this has some fields, header field name and the value of that field name with separated by the space. After each header field name we have a carriage return and line field. After this header line we have a blank line, so which exactly separates this header line and the entity body. So normally this entity body will be empty for request message whenever we use get method. So we'll talk about more on that. Okay, so this is the normal structure of or normal format of a HTTP request message. So we'll see an example. So this is an example for a HTTP request message. So here get is nothing but a method. After that we have a space and next comes the requested URL. So this is what we have requested in the example whatever we have taken earlier slide. So we are requesting some page from the server. So this is what the page whatever we are requesting. So next comes the HTTP bar 1.1. So that is nothing but which type of version we are using for HTTP protocol. So here the version indicates 1.1. So next comes carriage return and line feed. So next is header lines. So this line is called as request line. So next from here to here it is called as header lines. So here we have 4 header lines. The first header line is consists of header field name as host. That means it is the name of the host. So we are requesting www.someschool.edu. So that is the host name whatever we have given. So from this host we are requesting this page. Next is connection. So here it indicates close. That means after sending this requested page, the server can close the connection. Next is user agent. So which browser it is used by the client and what is the version. So this client uses the Mozilla Firefox with the version 5.0. And next is accept language. So here it indicates in what language it can display the content of the web page. So now it is referred as FR, which stands for French. And if at all we have English, then it will be in terms of US English. So like that. So next comes blank line, that is just a carriage return and line field. Since this is a get method, that means it is requesting some page from the server. We have empty entity body. So this entity body will be consist of some line only whenever we submit some of the data to the server. So normally we submit with the help of put method. So there can be some different methods. So we'll look into that in the future slides. Okay. So post method. So get method will be requesting some pages from the server. So we have one more method called as post method. So web page often includes form input. So that means whenever we fill some forms, then normally we submit some data to the server. So in that time we will be using a post method instead of get method. So input is uploaded to the server in the entity body. So whenever we have post method or put method, then the content or the input whatever we give, that will be uploaded by placing those input in the entity body. And next is URL method. That means whenever we are requesting URL, then we uses get method and input is uploaded in URL field of the request line. So that means, so normally whenever we request something in the URL, so normally it will also use the get method and those things will be placed in the URL field itself. That means, for example, if at all you are requesting for monkeys and banana, then it will be placing those things in the URL itself by placing these things. So this thing you can able to see whenever you search something in the web browser. So that is why we cannot say that always whenever we provide some data, always it will be using post, sometimes it may also use get method. So I have been talking about methods. So we have discussed about get method and post method. Apart from that, we have some other methods. In HTTP 1.0, that is version, we have three methods: get, post and head. So we already discussed what is the use of get and post. We have one more method called as head. It asks the server to leave request object out of response. So that means except requested object, it sends everything to the client. So normally we use this during the debugging method. So just for testing the application, normally we can use head method. The next version is HTTP 1.1. So where we have some more method along with the get, post and head, we have put and delete. So put uploads the file in the entity body to path specified in the URL. For example, if at all you want to include some new object into the page in your website, then normally we can use put method. And if at all you want to delete some objects or delete some file, then you can use delete method. So which deletes the file specified in the URL field. So this is all about HTTP request. For the request, the server will be responding with the HTTP response. So even it also has the format. So this is the general format of HTTP response, and this is the one example. So we'll see what are the different fields we have in this response message. The first line is called as status line, and the next set of lines we call it as header lines, and followed by a blank line and next the entity body. In the first line, which is called as status line, the first field is called as version field. That is, what is the version of HTTP protocol we are using. Then a separator, that is space. Next is status code. So this status code indicates the whether the requested file is there or not, or everything is okay, or is there any error in the requested object. So those things will be explained with the status code. We will see what are the different status code for this HTTP protocol. After that, we have phrase, which is associated with this status code. So next comes the header lines. So these header lines will have number of header lines with header field name and its values. And each header field name is different, mentioned in different line. That is why after every line or header field name, we have the carriage return and line feed. After that, a blank line. Next, the entity body, which contains the actual data, whatever need to be sent from the server to client. So we'll see an example. So since we have used HTTP 1.1, so that is the version name. Next, status code is 200. That means everything is okay. So whatever the client has been requested, it has been sent to the server client side from the server side. So next is connection. That means once we send the response message, the connection will be closed. Next is date. So this date is nothing but date and time at which the requested object is sent. Okay. So next is server. What type of server we are using? We have different types of server like Apache or Microsoft server, those things. So here it is using Apache server with the version. And the next header field name is last modified. That means the date and the time at which the page is modified, requested page is modified. So that is indicated by the last modified header field name. Next is content length. So total how many number of bytes are sent from server to client. Next is content type. So what is the type of the content in the page? That is nothing but HTML page with the text. And next comes, so this is the entity body, nothing but the data whatever we transfer. So this is how the HTTP request and response message look like. So in order to understand any request and response message, you have to understand the format. Sorry. So we have discussed about status code. We have some of the codes and its phrases here. So first is 200, whatever we had in our example, that is everything is okay. So request is succeeded and request object is sent. Next is if the status code is 301, that is the phrase is moved permanently. That means requested object moved and new location specified later in this message. So if at all you have moved any object from one page to another page, then we will be getting these type of error code or status codes. And the new location will be specified with the message, response message. Next is 400 with the bad request. Request message whatever made by the client is not understood by the server. So normally we would get these things whenever we request something, whenever we type something on the browser. Next is 404 not found, request document not found on this server, and last one is 505 HTTP version not supported. So these are the some of the well known codes and its phrases. So in the next video we will be discussing about cookies. So thank you for watching. Have a nice day.